Britain's numbers are increasing exponentially, with the death toll doubling every 3 days. Makeshift morgues are being built like this one on an ice rink in Milton Keynes to meet those grim demands. Meanwhile, frontline healthcare workers continue to make hurried preparations. Where personal protection equipment is in short supply, as it widely is, they're fashioning solutions from hardware shops, even resorting to seaside snorkels and school science class goggles. The government insists millions of items are in the delivery pipeline, but in many places they aren't arriving quickly enough.
I am now setting the goal of 100,000 tests per day by the end of this month. That is the goal, and I am determined that we will get there.
Two cruise ships full of COVID-19 cases were allowed to dock in Florida after 4 people died on one vessel. The Zaandam has been at sea for 2 weeks and was barred from South American ports before being allowed to dock in the US. Sister ship, the Rotterdam, was also given permission to dock at Port Everglades.
We have 2 ships. There are people that are sick on the ship. And we don't want to be like they're going to be ghost ships. You know, people turn those ships away. There was a ship, as you know, in a certain part of Asia, and from port to port, nobody would take it. But in the meantime, you have people that are dying on the ship, or at least very sick, but they're dying on the ship. So I'm gonna do what's right, not only for us, but for humanity. I mean, these are 2 big ships, and they have a lot of very sick people.
Well, the captain of a U.S. Navy aircraft carrier facing a growing outbreak of the coronavirus on his ship was fired on Thursday. Navy leaders said Brett Crozier created a panic by sending a memo pleading for help to too many people and suggesting 50 sailors could die. With a crew of nearly 5,000, the USS Theodore Roosevelt is docked in Guam. The Navy has said as many as 3,000 will be taken off the ship and quarantined by Friday. More than 100 sailors on the ship have tested positive for the virus.
A cautious return to daily life in Wuhan. The Chinese city where the coronavirus outbreak first started has seen a dramatic fall in cases after more than 2 months of isolation. Beijing is now pushing industries to go back to work in a bid to kickstart the stagnant economy. The biggest concern now is a second wave of imported infections as cases soar across the world. Foreigners, including those with residence permits, have been banned from entering the country. But Beijing is chartering flights to repatriate Chinese citizens. Vigorous checks are being carried out on all overseas arrivals at Shanghai Airport, China's biggest port of entry.
Dr. Anthony Fauci has been given a security detail because of death threats. The Washington Post reports America's key pandemic expert has become a public target for right-wing commentators and bloggers. The 79-year-old is being guarded by U.S. marshals.
Dr. Fauci is going to get, if he doesn't already have, a security detail of more than a half dozen federal agents.
President Trump intervened when Fauci was asked about the threats.
He doesn't need security. Everybody loves him. Says that they'd be in big trouble if they ever attack.
He spoke to Gayle King about the threats on CBS This Morning.
You know, it's my job. This is the life I've chosen, and I'm doing it. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of pressure. I mean, I would be foolish to deny that, but that's what I do.
Stay home. Keep your distance, or now, pay the price. Canadians are being hit with penalties now as governments move to reinforce the shutdowns right across the country. We lead our coverage this hour with John Northcott, who has the latest details about this increasingly aggressive response, John, from officials who are really targeting people who aren't following the rules.
Absolutely, Heather. And that battle is coming on a couple of fronts, not least of which new laws that can be used, new fines that can be used for people not playing by the rules, but in many cases, dedicated squads of bylaw enforcement officers or police officers who are tasked with making sure the rules are being followed and meting out those punishments.
Kenyan police use violence to enforce a dusk to dawn curfew. Several people have been arrested, others have been beaten, prompting the president to speak out on Wednesday.
I want to apologize to all Kenyans, maybe for some excesses that were conducted.
In South Africa, within hours of a nationwide lockdown coming into effect, there were complaints about police brutality and excessive force, yet some say it's the best way to keep people off the street. The disruption to daily routines is glaring. In Lagos, Nigeria's commercial hub of over 20 million people, usually bustling streets are deserted. And like many other cities, schools, businesses and public gathering places are closed.
Hi everybody, my name is Dr. Mona Lisa Muchatuta. I'm an emergency medicine doctor in New York City. Hospitals are running out of medications. Some hospitals don't have protective gear for staff. We're running out of equipment and we're even running out of oxygen, which is something that patients that have COVID-19 need.
And people who are dying with this. You can think of it as your lungs being filled with fluid, like you're drowning. And once you get to that point where you're drowning, you need a ventilator to stay alive, and we're running out of that equipment for people.
Every day we are having people, younger adults, come in who have very little comorbidities or other illnesses going on, who are being seriously affected by this illness. Affected to the point to where they have to be put on a ventilator just to breathe.
This video shows Venezuelan secret police taking away Andrea Bianchi, one of 5 people close to opposition leader Juan Guaidó, and snatched from their homes. On Monday, it was Victor Sirio and Romulo Garcia. And Thursday morning, 2 more members of Guaidó's team were taken away. Only Andrea Bianchi has been released. This was the lead-up to a summons by prosecutors against Guaidó on suspicion of participating in an alleged coup attempt. Prosecutor General Tarek Saab says Guaidó had been summoned to appear on Thursday regarding the seizure of a weapons cache in neighboring Colombia that was supposedly to be smuggled into Venezuela to overthrow the government.
Today, South Korea commemorates the tens of thousands of people killed on Jeju Island some 70 years ago when the authorities cracked down on protests against the country's administration by the U.S. military. Known officially as the April 3rd Jeju Incident, President Moon Jae-in vowed efforts to restore the honor of the victims of the incident.
President Moon Jae-in has pledged every effort to compensate the victims of the April 3rd Jeju Incident and their families. Speaking Friday at the annual memorial ceremony, President Moon stressed the importance of uncovering the truth about the April 3 incident, claiming that regardless of political divide, the country has a duty to restore the honor of the victims based on the facts. To do that, he called for joint efforts with the National Assembly to pass a revised act on the Jeju April 3rd incident.